Freak shows used to be a normalized form of entertainment. While they weren't always socially acceptable, crowds still flooded in to witness all sorts of human oddities. From the famous fat boy to the infamous dwarf girl, these performers weren't just strange, they were deeply weird. In an era before understanding or empathy, these acts were framed as curiosities worth a ticket. Some became famous, others were just vanished, but all were placed on display. What you're about to see isn't fiction. These were real people, in real shows, with stories that don't sit easy. Let's begin this list with number 15, the Fat Boy of Peckham. John Trunley was born in London in 1898, and then he quickly became known as the Fat Boy of Peckham. At just 7 months old, he already weighed 28 pounds. By age 4, he was 170 pounds and caught the attention of Sir Frederick Trevis, the same doctor who treated the famous Elephant Man. He made his stage debut at the Yarmouth Hippodrome in 1903 and soon performed all over England. At just 6 years old, his chest measured 44 inches and his waist 46. He became a full-fledged music hall act, telling jokes and performing for crowds. "I want to be a jockey," he once quipped on stage. He later appeared in films and toured under managers like Fred Carno and even Buffalo Bill. He married and had a child, but suffered health problems later in life. Trunley died in 1944 from pulmonary tuberculosis at 45. Though often exploited, he spent most of his life entertaining, both as a curiosity and as a performer. He was a real hero. Number 14, Rick Genest. Zombie Boy was a Canadian artist, model, and performer famous for tattooing nearly his entire body to look like a decaying corpse. Born in 1985 in Quebec, he survived a brain tumor surgery at 14 and later transformed his trauma into radical body art. By his 20s, he was performing in Canadian freak shows and starring in his own act, Lucifer's Blasphemous Mad Macabre Torture Carnival. His full-body skeletal tattoos earned him a Guinness record and made him a global fashion icon. After being found by Thierry Mugler's creative director, he headlined fashion shows, appeared in Vogue, and starred in Lady Gaga's Born This Way video. Genest also modeled for L'Oreal and appeared in films, including 47 Ronin, although much of his footage was cut. In 2018, he died from a fall off a balcony at age 32. Initially ruled a suicide, a coroner later confirmed it was an accident. Today, his image lives on in art, music, and tribute. Number 13, the Queen of Aerial Gymnastics. Lillian Leitzel was born in Germany and became one of the most celebrated aerial performers of the early 20th century. Her act was brutally intense. She'd ascend high above the crowd, grip the Roman rings with one hand, and fling herself into a series of fast, flipping rotations. Each flip would dislocate her shoulder, only for it to snap back into place mid-air. She performed without a safety net. Leitzel's strength, pain tolerance, and showmanship made her a global star. During World War I, American troops even voted her the most beautiful and attractive woman in the world. She toured in her own private train car and became the first female Ringling Brothers star to earn such a luxury. She kept performing into her 30s, but tragedy struck in 1931 when a rigging cable snapped during a show in Copenhagen. She fell to the ground and died 2 days later. Her legacy remains unmatched in aerial arts, forever defined by beauty, strength, and danger. Number 12, the Eddy Brothers. In the 1870s, William and Horatio Eddy gained fame as mediums who claimed to summon spirits through seances at their Vermont inn, the Green Tavern. During these eerie events, lights flickered, instruments played by unseen hands, and ghostly forms supposedly appeared. Visitors came from around the world, including theosophist Helena Blavatsky and Henry Steele Olcott, who believed the brothers were genuine. But magicians and skeptics saw through the act. Horatio's sleight-of-hand tricks were eventually exposed. He used fake hands, released hidden latches, and manipulated props in the dark. The illusion of spirit contact was simple stagecraft. The famous magician Chung-Ling Soo demonstrated their entire setup, down to the fake hand made from sheet lead. While some continued to defend the brothers as true spiritualists, researchers like George Beard and Hereward Carrington publicly called it what it was: fraud. In the end, the Eddy brothers weren't conjuring ghosts. They were conjuring illusions, and their fame rested on how willing people were to believe them. Number 11. Caroline Crociami. Caroline Crociami was born in Palermo, Italy, around 1815, and became one of the earliest documented cases of primordial dwarfism. She was known as the Sicilian Fairy, standing only about 20 inches tall and weighing less than 5 pounds. In 1824, she was brought to London by a man named Dr. Gilligan, who falsely claimed to be her father. Presented at court and displayed as a marvel of nature, she was admired for her intelligence and her ability to speak English. But Caroline was ill, likely with tuberculosis, and died just weeks after arriving. Tragically, after her death, Gilligan tried to sell her body for dissection before disappearing with the money earned from her exhibitions. Her real father arrived too late to stop it. Caroline's body was dissected by famed anatomist John Hunter, and her skeleton was kept in the Hunterian Museum for years. Debate continues about her actual age. Some claim she was only 3, but her brief life exposed the brutal exploitation behind Victorian spectacle. It was a very messy era. Number 10. The Noble Lilliputian. Count Primo Magri was a 19th-century Italian dwarf whose fame came not only from his performances, but also from his marriage to Lavinia, the widow of General Tom Thumb. Standing just 2 feet 8 inches tall, Magri was even shorter than Tom Thumb himself. He and Lavinia performed around the world, staging theatrical productions like Gulliver Among the Lilliputians and entertaining royalty, including Queen Victoria. Though the titles Count and Baron used by him and his brother Giuseppe, who was a fellow performer known as Baron Magri, were often circus embellishments, it's claimed Primo received his title from Pope Pius IX. They were adored by fans and known for their elegant style and refined tastes, so much so that they reportedly had to keep performing into old age to maintain their lifestyle. In 1915, Count Magri appeared in a silent film, The Lilliputian's Courtship. He died in 1920 at age 71, remembered not just as a freak performer, but as a gentleman of the smallest stature with the grandest poise. Number 9. The Living Skeleton. Calvin Edson, born in 1788, became one of the first widely known living skeleton acts in America. After serving in the War of 1812, Edson's health declined rapidly, and his weight plummeted despite being otherwise functional and mobile. Standing around 5 feet 3 inches, he eventually weighed just 45 pounds. Instead of hiding away, Edson leaned into his unique appearance, performing in tight black clothing that emphasized his skeletal frame. By the 1830s, he was a well-known exhibit, dancing for audiences and touring Europe. Posters promoted him as a medical mystery, once claiming he was shown to Paris's College of Physicians and called the greatest phenomenon of nature. A newspaper hoax in 1832 falsely reported his death and described his body as being found with a 14-foot tapeworm. He wasn't dead at all. Edson continued touring well into the 1830s, earning $15 a week. He married, had kids, and outlived the rumors, becoming a quietly iconic figure in the early days of American freak show history. Number 8. The Venus of South America. Tono Maria was an amore woman from Brazil, exhibited in the 19th century London freak shows under the exoticized title, The Venus of South America. With her full figure, body scars, lip and earplugs, she was paraded as both curiosity and warning, an image crafted to challenge Victorian ideals of beauty and morality. According to showmen, each scar on her body marked a transgression, making her a spectacle of so-called tribal punishment. One report claimed she'd captured the hearts of 3 chieftains, turning her story into a sensationalized blend of sexualized danger and noble savage myth. But behind the marketing was a real woman who likely had no say in how she was presented. Scholars like Janelle Hobson and Rosemarie Garland Thompson have since re-examined Maria's image, pointing out how women like her were used to reinforce the supposed superiority of Western femininity. Her scars weren't shameful. They were made into shame, and in that lie, London found its thrill. What do you think about her? Number 7. The Man with Another Body. Aki's story barely survives in fragments, but what remains is haunting. Born in 1804, he was described in medical archives as having another partial body growing from his chest. The second torso reportedly had 2 small arms and what appeared to be stunted legs, a case of extreme conjoined twinning known as parasitic twin. In some rare conditions like Aki's, one twin ceases development but doesn't fully detach. Instead, the extra limbs remain fused to the surviving body. There's no confirmed photo of AK and no full name recorded, just the Chinese transliteration that accompanied his few scattered mentions. He likely appeared in exhibitions or medical showings in the 19th century, a time when scientific curiosity and spectacle often overlapped. But unlike other oddities with full careers, AK's history fades after that first note. His life, like the body he carried, remains mostly undocumented. Still, the very fact that he was recorded at all says something about the astonishment he must have stirred. Number 6. Jojo the Dog-Faced Boy. Fedor Jevtichu was born in 1868 in Russia with hypertrichosis, the same condition his father had. Together, they performed in traveling shows as wild men. But it was P.T. Barnum who transformed Fedor into something bigger and more dehumanized. Renamed Jojo the Dog-Faced Boy, Barnum crafted a story about feral men hunted down in Russian forests and claimed Fedor would growl and bark when agitated. On stage, Jojo obliged. Off stage, Fedor spoke Russian, German, and English, and he wasn't wild. He was fluent, thoughtful, and smart. He toured extensively through Europe and the US, rarely stepping out of character. It was a strange balancing act, living as both spectacle and man. He didn't have control over the stories people told about him, but he made the most of the role he was handed. Fedor died of pneumonia in 1904 in Salonika, Greece. Long before film could document sideshow lives, he became one of the most enduring faces of the freak show era, half myth, half misunderstood. Number 5. The Colloredo Brothers. In 17th century Italy, long before sideshows became formal entertainment, Lazarus and Joannes traveled the courts of Europe as living marvels. Lazarus moved, spoke, and lived independently. His twin, Joannes, was fused to his chest, silent and immobile, his small limbs dangling from Lazarus's torso. They were conjoined in body but radically different in function. When not performing, Lazarus would cover Joannes with a cloak, not to hide him, but maybe just to shield him from the looks. They toured across Europe, even performing for King Charles I of England. But their shared body became a legal puzzle when Lazarus was charged with murder. He was nearly sentenced to death, but the court hesitated. Executing Lazarus would also kill Joannes, who had committed no crime. They were released. The Colloredo twins have become a historical paradox. Two lives sharing one fragile space, impossible to separate and never truly understood. Their story still lingers as one of the strangest intersections of biology, morality, and survival. Number 4. Lionel the Lion-Faced Man. Stefan Bibrowski was born in 1890 in Poland, covered in long, soft hair due to hypertrichosis. His mother blamed a lion attack she'd witnessed while pregnant, convinced that fear had cursed her child. By age 4, Stefan was given to a showman named Sedlmayr, who renamed him Lionel and took him on tour. As he grew, his mane-like hair lengthened, nearly 8 inches on his face and 4 on his body. But Lionel wasn't just a look. He performed acrobatics, spoke multiple languages, and let people see a gentle soul beneath his wild exterior. By the early 1900s, he was touring with Barnum and Bailey and became a favorite at Coney Island. Behind the fame, though, there was loneliness. He retired in the late 1920s and returned to Germany, where he died of a heart attack in 1932. Lionel played the lion, but off-stage he lived like any man, quiet, intelligent, and kind. His story still lingers, half beast and half beautifully human. Number 3. Half man, half woman. Josephine Joseph didn't just perform. She confronted everyone in the crowd. Her body was split down the center, half masculine, half feminine. It wasn't a costume. It was how she lived. In a time when even stepping outside that binary was dangerous, she stepped directly into the spotlight. Audiences gawked, debated, even protested, but no one looked away. She leaned into it, performing as the half-man, half-woman across Europe, and eventually appearing in Todd Browning's 1932 film Freaks. She barely spoke on screen, but she didn't need to. Her presence said enough. Outside the ring, she kept her private life quiet, maybe because there was no safe place to be seen. No one knows what became of her, how her story ended, or if she ever got peace. But what she left behind was more than a sideshow act. She was a down-to-earth lady. Number 2, the gentleman rival. George Washington Morrison. Nut stood 29 inches tall but carried himself like a general. Discovered by P.T. Barnum in the 1860s, he was renamed Commodore Nut and trained to be a showman. What made him stand out wasn't just size, it was his wit. He joked with crowds, played pranks, and held his own in the spotlight. But behind the scenes, a different drama unfolded. Nut fell hard for fellow performer Lavinia Warren, only to watch her marry Tom Thumb, his closest rival. The heartbreak ran deep, but he stayed professional. Nut kept touring, bringing laughter wherever he went, even as the excitement faded. Off stage, he avoided attention, living simply and privately. He died in 1881 at 33. Barnum once called him one of his smartest hires. But Nut wasn't just a clever act. He was a man who gave everything to performance, lost more than he showed, and left behind a name that still echoes through circus history. Number 1, the Quarterman. Dick Hilburn didn't wait for anyone to feel sorry. Born in 1918 with just one fully formed limb, he built his own life from the ground up, literally. He wheeled across fairgrounds on a board he rigged himself, booked his own acts, ran his own tent, and called himself the Quarterman. It was gritty, stripped down, and honest. He didn't want applause, just room to work. Dick partnered with Carl, the Frog Boy, and they handled their shows like a business. He wasn't a one-trick act either. When he wasn't performing, he tattooed, painted banners, and lent a hand to struggling performers. He traveled from town to town, slept in low-budget motels, scraped together what he needed, and kept on moving. Dick died in 1971 without headlines, But his name still lives in Midway circles. Nobody handed him anything, and he never asked. He built his space with grit, humor, and stubborn dignity, and that alone made him unforgettable. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.